15 Graves of Legendary Rappers Who Died Too Soon. Some of hip-hop's brightest stars are now resting in places most fans have never seen. Nipsey Hussle was only 33. XXXTentacion and Pop Smoke were just 20. Juice WRLD had barely turned 21. Behind every grave, mausoleum and private burial site lies a final chapter filled with tragedy, unanswered questions and memories that refuse to disappear. Today, Golden Black Legends takes you beyond the music to uncover the final resting places and powerful stories of 15 black rappers whose lives ended far too soon. Some graves became destinations for thousands of fans, others remain hidden from public view. Before we begin, subscribe and tell us below which rapper's death shocked you the most. Nipsey Hussle. When Nipsey Hussle was killed on March 31st, 2019, Los Angeles did not simply lose a rapper, it lost a man whose ambitions had become deeply connected to the community that raised him. Born Ermias Joseph Asghedom, Nipsey was shot outside his Marathon clothing store in South Los Angeles. He was only 33. His death sent shockwaves through hip-hop, while the neighborhood where he had invested time, money, and hope became a gathering place for public mourning. The scale of his farewell demonstrated how deeply his story resonated. On April 11, 2019, thousands gathered at the Staples Center for a public celebration of life. Family members, musicians, community leaders, and fans filled the arena. Stevie Wonder performed, and a letter from former President Barack Obama recognized Nipsey's commitment to improving his community. Outside, enormous crowds waited to say goodbye. After the memorial, his casket traveled through roughly 25 miles of Los Angeles streets. The procession moved through neighborhoods central to his life and career, including the area surrounding the Marathon clothing store. Thousands lined the road, holding photographs, flowers, and handmade signs as the hearse passed. For several emotional hours, Los Angeles appeared united in remembrance. Nipsey was ultimately laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, Hollywood Hills, a peaceful contrast to the streets where his life had ended. But his physical resting place tells only part of the story. The intersection of Crenshaw Boulevard and West Slauson Avenue was ceremonially designated Ermias Nipsey Hussle Asghedom Square, permanently connecting his name to the neighborhood he championed. His grave may remain quiet, but across South Los Angeles, Nipsey Hussle's legacy continues to speak. XXXTentacion. XXXTentacion's story ended with shocking suddenness on June 18, 2018. Born Jase Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy de Florida, rapper was leaving Riva Motorsports in Deerfield Beach when he was confronted during a robbery and fatally shot. He was only 20 years old, despite a brief career surrounded by serious controversy. His emotionally raw music had already attracted an enormous young audience, making his death an international story almost immediately. His funeral reflected that extraordinary following. Before the private burial, an open casket public memorial was held at the BB&T Center in Sunrise, Florida, where thousands of fans were given an opportunity to say goodbye. The gathering demonstrated just how quickly XXXTentacion had become a defining figure for listeners who connected with his music about isolation, anger, depression, and emotional vulnerability. His family later laid him to rest at the gardens of Boca Raton Memorial Park in Florida. Unlike an ordinary lawn grave, his resting place is an imposing private mausoleum constructed from stone with his name prominently displayed. Photographs of the memorial show a structure that stands apart from the surrounding landscape, giving his burial site an unmistakable presence. Fans initially left handwritten messages and memorial objects near the mausoleum, turning the location into a destination for people mourning the young rapper. The original transcript describes this contrast effectively. His music and life could be turbulent, yet his final resting place projects stillness and permanence. XXXTentacion never lived long enough to discover where his musical evolution might have taken him. He died at an age when most careers have barely begun. Today, that quiet Florida mausoleum represents the final chapter of a life that lasted only 2 decades, but generated an influence that continued long after the music stopped. Eazy-E. Eazy-E helped introduce a radically different image of Los Angeles to popular culture. Born Eric Lynn Wright, he became a central figure in NWA alongside Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, MC Ren, and DJ Yella. Through recordings such as Outer Compton, the group became one of hip-hop's most controversial and influential forces, while Eazy-E's distinctive voice and ruthless records helped shape the rise of West Coast gangsta rap. Then came an ending almost nobody expected. In February 1995, Eazy-E was hospitalized with respiratory problems and diagnosed with AIDS. On March 26, 1995, he died from complications related to the disease. He was 30 years old, not 31 as the original transcript states. His death occurred only weeks after his diagnosis became public, creating enormous shock within a hip-hop community that was still relatively young. Eazy-E's funeral was held in California, drawing relatives, friends, collaborators, and admirers. He was eventually laid to rest at Rose Hills Memorial Park in Whittier, California. His grave became a destination for generations of fans who wanted to pay tribute to the man whose music had helped redefine West Coast rap. His memorial has also changed over time. In 2019, on what would have been Eazy-E's 55th birthday, a new and more elaborate headstone was unveiled. It prominently features his stage identity and imagery associated with his career, giving visitors a far more recognizable tribute to the rapper than the earlier marker. There is something striking about that contrast. Eazy-E built his reputation through music that sounded confrontational, rebellious, and uncompromising. Yet his journey ultimately ends among the quiet grounds of Rose Hills. 3 decades after his death, fans still visit because Eazy-E's influence did not disappear with him. The Voice stopped in 1995. The legacy of the godfather of gangsta rap did not. Pop Smoke. Pop Smoke appeared to be standing at the beginning of something enormous when his life was abruptly taken away. Born Bashar Baraka Jackson in Brooklyn, became one of the defining voices of Brooklyn drill. Through the deep commanding delivery heard on songs such as Welcome to the Party and Dior. By early 2020, his music was spreading internationally and a major breakthrough seemed inevitable. On February 19, 2020, everything changed. Pop Smoke was staying at a rented home in the Hollywood Hills when intruders entered the property during a robbery. He was shot and later pronounced dead at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. He was only 20 years old. His body was returned to New York, the city inseparable from his identity. A funeral service was held in Brooklyn, and before his burial, crowds gathered as a horse-drawn carriage carrying his casket traveled through the streets of Canarsie. The neighborhood that had inspired his music now became the setting for his final farewell. Pop Smoke was laid to rest at Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, one of New York's most historic cemeteries. But even death did not guarantee complete peace. In September 2021, his crypt was badly vandalized. Photographs showed a shattered marble covering and debris scattered around the mausoleum area. The damage was subsequently repaired, but the incident disturbed fans and family members who believed a burial place should remain sacred. The tragedy became even more haunting because Pop Smoke's biggest commercial success arrived after he was gone. His posthumous album, Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, reached #1 on the Billboard 200. His resting place is therefore more than the grave of a successful rapper. It holds a 20-year-old whose career was still accelerating when violence permanently interrupted it. Young Dolph. Young Dolph built his career around Independent's Memphis pride and an unmistakable refusal to follow someone else's blueprint. Born Adolph Robert Thornton Jr. in Chicago and raised in Memphis, he developed into one of Southern rap's most recognizable independent figures. Through projects including King of Memphis and his Paper Route Empire label, Dolph turned regional loyalty into a substantial career without abandoning the community that shaped him. That connection makes the circumstances of his death especially painful. On November 17, 2021, Dolph entered Makeda's homemade butter cookies in Memphis, a local business he was known to visit. Gunmen opened fire, killing him inside the store. He was 36 years old. What had begun as an ordinary stop in his hometown became the final moment of his life. His funeral was deliberately different from the massive public spectacles associated with some other rappers. Family and loved ones held a private service protecting their grief from becoming entertainment. Dolph was subsequently laid to rest in Memphis, the city that had become inseparable from both his music and identity. Public mourning nevertheless spread throughout the community. Fans gathered outside Makedas, leaving flowers, balloons, photographs and messages. In December 2021, a public memorial celebrating his life was held at FedEx Forum, where relatives, friends and supporters remembered both the performer and the man behind Paper Route Empire. His legacy also became physically connected to Memphis. A street in the Castalia Heights neighborhood where Dolph was raised was ceremonially renamed Adolph Young Dolph Thornton Jr. Avenue. That tribute feels particularly appropriate. Young Dolph spent years transforming Memphis experiences into music and investing in people around him. His final resting place remains there too. The rapper may have traveled the world, but both the beginning and ending of his story remain deeply rooted in Memphis. Proof was never simply the man standing beside Eminem. Born Deshaun Dupree Holton, the Detroit rapper became a respected battle MC, a member of D12, and an important figure in the city's underground hip-hop community. His friendship with Eminem stretched back years before international fame, and within D12 Proof was often regarded as a unifying presence who helped hold the group together. That bond made April 11, 2006, especially devastating. During an altercation at the CCC Club on Detroit's 8 Mile Road, gunfire erupted and Proof was fatally shot. He was only 32. His death sent shockwaves through Detroit and left D12 without one of its central personalities. Proof's funeral was held at Fellowship Chapel in Detroit. Hundreds gathered inside while many more mourners surrounded the church. Eminem delivered an emotional tribute to his longtime friend, while fellow musicians and members of Detroit's hip-hop community came together to remember a performer whose importance extended far beyond record sales. The final journey carried particular symbolism. Proof's casket was transported in a horse-drawn carriage before he was laid to rest at Woodlawn Cemetery in Detroit. The historic cemetery would later become the resting place of another towering Detroit music figure, Aretha Franklin. His grave provides a quiet ending to a life built around microphones, clubs, battles, and friendship. Yet Proof's significance cannot be measured only by the years he lived. For Eminem, he was a trusted friend. For D12, he was a founding force. For Detroit, he represented an era when local rappers fought for recognition long before the world began paying attention. Proof died violently and far too young, but his resting place preserves the memory of someone whose greatest legacy may have been the people he brought together. Takeoff built a remarkable career while often remaining the quietest member of Migos. Born Kirsnick Curry Ball in 1994, he grew up in Georgia alongside Quavo and Offset. Together they transformed a distinctive triplet-driven flow into a defining sound of 2010s hip-hop. Records including Versace Bad and Bougie and Stir Fry helped turn Migos from an Atlanta phenomenon into international stars. Then on November 1, 2022, Takeoff's life ended with horrifying suddenness. He was attending a private gathering at 810 Billiards and Bowling in Houston when gunfire erupted outside the venue. Takeoff was struck and died at the scene. He was only 28 years old. 10 days later, Atlanta gathered to say goodbye. A celebration of life was held at State Farm Arena, a venue capable of holding thousands. Family, friends, fans, and major artists attended, while Justin Bieber and others participated in the emotional memorial. Quavo and Offset honored the man who had been both family and musical partner. Unlike the public spectacle surrounding the service, Takeoff's actual burial has remained largely private. The original transcript states that his grave location is strictly classified. A careful account should stop short of inventing a cemetery or grave description when reliable public documentation is limited. That privacy creates an unusual contrast. Millions heard Takeoff's voice, watched his performances, and followed Migos around the world. Yet his family retained control over one of the most personal parts of his farewell. Perhaps that is fitting for an artist frequently described as reserved away from the microphone. Takeoff achieved enormous visibility without constantly demanding attention. His final resting place may remain outside the public gaze, but the music he created with Migos ensures that his presence in hip-hop history is anything but hidden. Juice WRLD. Juice WRLD seemed capable of turning private anxiety into music millions of strangers immediately understood. Born Jared Anthony Higgins in Chicago, he broke through internationally with Lucid Dreams and All Girls Are the Same, blending melodic rap with themes of heartbreak, emotional instability, substance use, and vulnerability. By his early 20s, he had become one of the defining voices of a generation raised between hip-hop and emo. His rise ended abruptly on December 8, 2019. After arriving at Chicago's Midway International Airport aboard a private aircraft, Juice WRLD suffered a medical emergency and was transported to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. He had turned 21 only days earlier. The Cook County medical examiner later determined that he died from accidental oxycodone and codeine toxicity. His family kept the funeral intimate. A service was held in Illinois on December 13th, allowing relatives and close friends to mourn away from the enormous public attention surrounding his death. Juice WRLD was laid to rest at Homewood Memorial Gardens in Homewood, Illinois. His resting place is associated with an imposing family mausoleum bearing the Higgins name. Memorial imagery surrounding the structure celebrates both Jared, the young man his family knew, and Juice WRLD, the performer recognized around the world. That distinction gives his burial site unusual emotional power. Behind billions of streams and sold-out performances was someone barely old enough to enter adulthood. His posthumous influence only expanded. Legends Never Die, released in 2020, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, demonstrating the enormous audience still processing his loss. Juice WRLD's final resting place is built from stone, but his most enduring memorial exists elsewhere in songs where he openly described struggles many young listeners were afraid to express themselves. He lived 21 years. The conversations created by his music have lasted much longer. Big L. Big L never received enough time to become the superstar many believed he was destined to be. Born Lamont Coleman and raised in Harlem, he developed a reputation for astonishing wordplay, complex rhyme schemes, punchlines, and fearless battle rap ability. His 1995 debut album, Lifestyles Ovide Poor and Dangerous, established him as one of New York's most technically gifted young MCs. But on February 15, 1999, his future disappeared in seconds. Big L was shot multiple times near his Harlem home and died at only 24. His murder shocked New York's hip-hop community, particularly because his career appeared positioned for another major step forward. Big L was laid to rest at George Washington Memorial Park in Paramus, New Jersey. Unlike the towering mausoleums associated with some celebrities, his burial site is understated. A bronze marker lies close to the ground bearing his name and dates rather than presenting visitors with an extravagant monument. The simplicity creates a striking contrast with his reputation on the microphone. Big L's lyrics could be aggressive, intricate, humorous, and relentlessly confident. His grave, by comparison, is quiet and restrained. There is also a painful family dimension surrounding his memorial. Big L's older brother, Leroy Big Lee Finazzi, was killed several years after him, adding another tragedy to a family already devastated by violence. The transcript draws attention to this connection when describing the memorial marker. Big L's influence subsequently grew far beyond the commercial success he experienced while alive. Rappers and dedicated hip-hop listeners continued studying his freestyles and recordings, turning an abbreviated career into an enduring reputation. His grave may appear modest, but that modesty tells its own story. Big L did not need marble walls or towering statues to establish his place in hip-hop. his monument was already built in words. Old Dirty Bastard, Russell Tyrone Jones, never seemed interested in becoming a conventional celebrity. As Old Dirty Bastard ODB, he brought an unpredictable energy to the Wu-Tang Clan that nobody else could reproduce. His slurred melodies, explosive rhymes, humor, and deliberately chaotic personality made him one of hip-hop's most recognizable characters. When Wu-Tang Clan released Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers in 1993, ODB stood apart, even within a group filled with distinctive personalities. His 1995 solo album, Return to the 36 Chambers. The dirty version strengthened that reputation, producing memorable tracks including Shimmy Shimmy Ya and Brooklyn Zoo. But behind the outrageous public image was a life increasingly complicated by legal problems and substance abuse. On November 13, 2004, ODB collapsed at Wu-Tang's recording studio in Manhattan just 2 days before what would have been his 36th birthday. He was pronounced dead at 35. The medical examiner later determined that his death resulted from an accidental drug overdose involving cocaine and the prescription opioid tramadol. His funeral brought together relatives, friends, fellow artists, and members of the Wu-Tang family. ODB was ultimately laid to rest at Washington Memorial Park in Mount Sinai, New York, the cemetery identified in the original transcript. The peaceful setting feels almost opposite to the performer remembered on stage. ODB built his reputation through unpredictability. A cemetery offers only stillness. Yet his influence survived that contrast. His vocal approach remains difficult to imitate because so much of its power came from personality rather than technique alone. Old Dirty Bastard lived only 35 years, but he helped give Wu-Tang Clan something essential: danger comedy, vulnerability, and the sense that absolutely anything could happen when he approached a microphone. Jam Master Jay. Before hip-hop became a global commercial force, Jam Master Jay helped demonstrate what a DJ could mean to a group's identity. Born Jason William Mizell in Brooklyn and raised in Queens, he became the turntable foundation of Run DMC alongside Joseph Ron Simmons and Daryl DMC McDaniels. Together, the trio helped move hip-hop into mainstream American culture during the 1980s. It's like that King of Rock Walk This Way and It's Tricky became landmarks, while their Adidas sneakers, black hats, and streetwear created an image copied around the world. Behind Run and DMC stood Jay, controlling the record's rhythm and live energy. Then on October 30th, 2002, violence entered the place where music should have offered safety. Jam Master Jay was inside his recording studio in Jamaica, Queens, when he was shot and killed. He was 37. For years, the murder remained one of hip-hop's most notorious unresolved cases, generating rumors and speculation. More than 2 decades later, the legal picture changed dramatically. In February 2024, a federal jury convicted Carl Jordan Jr. and Ronald Washington of murder in connection with Mizell's killing, giving his family a measure of judicial accountability after an extraordinarily long wait. Jay was laid to rest at Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York, as noted in the transcript. His burial place is quiet, but his musical footprint is enormous. Run DMC helped establish possibilities later generations would take for granted, from major endorsements to rock collaborations and arena-scale rap performances. Jam Master Jay never lived to see the full extent of that legacy, but every time hip-hop celebrates the DJ as more than someone standing behind the rappers, part of that recognition belongs to him. King Von. King Von's rise was frighteningly fast. Born Davon Daquan Bennett in Chicago, he emerged from the city's drill scene with a storytelling style that made his songs feel almost cinematic. Rather than relying only on hooks or atmosphere, Von constructed detailed narratives filled with characters, tension, consequences, and the realities he associated with Chicago street life. After signing with Lil Durk's Only the Family imprint, his profile expanded through tracks including Crazy Story. Projects such as Grandson Volume 1 and Levon James strengthened his momentum, while Welcome to O-Block, released in October 2020, appeared positioned to push his career even further. Only days later, everything stopped. In the early hours of November 6, 2020, an altercation outside Monaco hookah lounge in Atlanta escalated into gunfire. Vaughn was shot and later died at a hospital. He was 26 years old. His death produced another wave of mourning in a hip-hop generation already shaken by repeated losses of young artists. Fans created memorials online and across Chicago, while his recordings gained renewed attention. The original transcript states that Vaughn's funeral was deliberately restricted and that his burial location was kept secret. Because reliable public documentation about his precise gravesite remains limited, a fact-focused script should respect that uncertainty rather than inventing a cemetery or describing a grave that cannot be confidently verified. That absence is itself meaningful. For some artists in this story, fans can travel directly to a headstone or mausoleum. King Vaughn's public memorial instead survives primarily through photographs, murals, recordings, and the Chicago neighborhoods repeatedly referenced in his music. He lived only 26 years, yet the vivid storytelling he left behind ensured that his voice continued narrating those streets long after he was gone. Pimp C. Pimp C helped give Southern hip-hop a voice that could no longer be ignored. Born Chet Lamont Butler in Crowley, Louisiana and raised in Port Arthur, Texas, he formed UGK with Bernard "Bun B" Freeman. Their combination of blues-soaked production, vivid street narratives, and unmistakable Texas identity made UGK one of the foundational groups of Southern rap. For years, their influence grew steadily before reaching an even larger audience through appearances such as Jay-Z's Big Pimpin'. In 2007, UGK achieved a landmark commercial moment when Underground Kings debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. Only months later, tragedy arrived. On December 4, 2007, Pimp C was found unresponsive in a room at the Mondrian Hotel in West Hollywood. He was 33. The Los Angeles County coroner determined that his death resulted from an accidental combination involving codeine and promethazine, with sleep apnea contributing. His body was returned to Texas, where the farewell became deeply connected to Port Arthur, the community that shaped him. Funeral services were held at the Robert A. Bob Bowers Civic Center, drawing relatives, musicians, friends, and admirers who came to honor one of Southern rap's most distinctive voices. Pimp C was laid to rest at Greenlawn Memorial Park in Groves, Texas, near Port Arthur. His grave became a destination for fans who understood that UGK's significance extended far beyond chart positions. The location feels appropriate. Although Pimp C achieved national fame, Texas remained embedded in his identity, his production, his language, and his worldview. His death at 33 ended the possibility of watching UGK's next chapter unfold, but it could not erase what had already been created. Alongside Bun B, Pimp C helped open doors through which generations of Southern rappers would later walk. His final resting place is in Texas soil, and so are the roots of the sound he helped make impossible for hip-hop to overlook. Mac Dre. Mac Dre was more than a rapper to Northern California. He became a cultural symbol whose influence grew dramatically after his death. Born Andre Louis Hicks in Oakland and raised in Vallejo, he began recording as a teenager and eventually became one of the defining voices of the Bay Area's independent rap movement. Through albums such as Young Black Brother, Ronald Reagan, Reaganomics, and The Genie of the Lamp, his humor, slang, charisma, and unconventional delivery helped shape the emerging hyphy culture. By the early 2000s, Mac Dre had built a fiercely loyal following without relying on mainstream radio. His Thiz entertainment label provided another platform for Bay Area artists, while songs like Feelin' Myself and Get Stupid became inseparable from the region's musical identity. Then came November 1st, 2004. After performing in Kansas City, Missouri, Mac Dre was traveling in a van when another vehicle approached and gunfire erupted. The van crashed and Dre was found fatally wounded. He was only 34. His killing remains officially unsolved. His body was returned to California, where fans and loved ones mourned an artist whose career appeared to be entering another chapter. Mac Dre was laid to rest at Mountain View Cemetery in Oakland. The original transcript also describes repeated thefts involving his grave marker. Because those specific details require stronger documentation, they should not be presented as established fact without reliable sourcing. What is undeniable is what happened afterward. Mac Dre's reputation expanded rather than faded. Murals appeared younger. Rappers repeatedly cited him, and his vocabulary became embedded in Bay Area culture. His grave marks where Andre Hicks rests, but Mac Dre's larger memorial exists across Northern California. 2 decades after his death, cars still play, his records crowds still recognize his lyrics, and the culture he helped shape continues moving without him. Scott La Rock. Scott La Rock belongs to an earlier chapter of hip-hop, when commercial success was far from guaranteed and the culture's future was still being constructed neighborhood by neighborhood. Born Scott Monroe, Sterling in 1962, he became a DJ producer and co-founder of Boogie Down Productions alongside KRS-One. Their partnership produced Criminal Minded in 1987, an album now widely regarded as a landmark in hip-hop history. Its hard-edged production, street-level perspective, and battle-ready lyricism helped establish a template that would influence countless artists. Scott's contribution was crucial. Behind KRS-One's commanding voice stood a DJ and producer helping define the record's sound. Tragically, he barely had time to witness its influence. On August 27, 1987, Scott La Rock became involved in an attempt to defuse a dispute involving fellow BDP member D-Nice. While riding in a vehicle in the Bronx, Scott was shot. He died from his injuries the following day at only 25 years old. His death devastated Boogie Down Productions and became one of hip-hop's earliest highly visible losses to gun violence. KRS-One continued BDP, but the group could never return to its original form. The transcript identifies Scott La Rock's resting place as Ferncliff Cemetery in Hartsdale, New York. That cemetery holds many notable figures, but Scott's significance is measured less by the monument above him than by the music he helped create before turning 26. Criminal Minded outlived its co-creator by decades. Scott La Rock's career was painfully brief, yet his influence demonstrates one of hip-hop's cruelest paradoxes. Sometimes an artist can help shape the future without surviving long enough to see what that future becomes. 15 rappers, 15 lives cut short, and 15 stories that still echo through hip-hop. From Nipsey Hussle and Eazy-E to Pop Smoke Juice, WRLD, Takeoff, and young Dolph, each artist left behind more than a grave or memorial. They left music memories and unanswered questions about what they might have achieved with more time. Some final resting places have become destinations for devoted fans, while others remain deliberately private, protected from public attention. But perhaps the most powerful monument is the music that refuses to disappear. Which of these losses changed hip-hop the most, and whose legacy will endure the longest? Share your opinion in the comments, subscribe to Golden Black Legends, and tell us whose remarkable story deserves to be remembered next.